The first fine came on a Tuesday, $500 for excessive grass height. The second, a week later, for unapproved mulch color. By the third, I knew it wasn't about lawn care. It was about me. Joseph Carter, Black American in a neighborhood where I was the only one who looked like me. And Karen Whitmore, the HOA president with a clipboard and a smirk, made sure I felt it. But what she didn't know? I'm a civil engineer with a memory like steel, and a plan that didn't involve shouting or lawsuits. It involved blueprints, city codes, and one quiet act of revenge that didn't just silence her. It shut down the entire HOA. This isn't just about grass. This is about power, prejudice, and what happens when you push someone too far. Joseph Carter had spent 2 years saving for his home in Willow Creek Estates, a quiet, tree-lined suburb just outside Atlanta. It wasn't a mansion, but it was his. A 2-bedroom bungalow with a porch swing and enough yard for a garden. He'd planted native grasses, drought-resistant and low-maintenance, part of his effort to live sustainably. The neighbors mostly kept to themselves, nodding from driveways, waving at dogs. Except for Karen Whitmore. She lived 3 doors down, a woman in her late 50s with a perfectly coiffed bob and an aura of self-appointed authority. She chaired the Homeowners Association with the zeal of a battlefield general. Her emails were crisp, her citations precise, and within weeks of Joseph moving in, the fines started. First, $250 for unapproved mailbox design. Joseph had replaced his rusted post with a simple black steel one, modern, sleek, and code compliant. Then $300 for excessive potted plants on front porch. His mother's succulents, gifts from her garden, were suddenly a neighborhood hazard. Each notice arrived in a white envelope with the HOA seal, stamped like a verdict. Joseph responded politely, citing city codes and architectural guidelines. He even attended meetings, calm and professional, offering solutions. But Karen dismissed him with a tight smile, her voice dripping with condescension. "We have standards here, Mr. Carter." The real turning point came when he let his grass grow to 8 inches, still well below the city's 12-inch limit for natural landscaping. Karen fined him $500 for negligent yard maintenance and threatened legal action. That's when Joseph stopped appealing. He stopped arguing. Instead, he started researching. Late nights, spreadsheets, zoning laws, HOA bylaws, environmental regulations. He wasn't angry. He was focused. Because if Karen wanted to play by the rules, he'd show her exactly how deep the rulebook went. And what he found wasn't just a loophole. It was a weapon. Joseph began documenting everything. Photos of other lawns, overgrown, littered with broken furniture, some with weeds taller than his, yet no fines. He noted the homes with American flags flying crookedly, satellite dishes bolted to roofs without permits, even a garage converted into a rental unit, unapproved and uninspected. None had been cited. Only his home, it seemed, was under constant surveillance. Then came the drone footage. Mounted on a discreet pole at the edge of his property, it captured Karen walking past his yard daily, sometimes stopping to take pictures with her phone. Once, she was seen clipping a blade of his grass and placing it in a Ziploc bag. The absurdity was staggering, but the implication was darker. This wasn't about aesthetics. It was about control. About sending a message. You don't belong here. Joseph dug deeper into the HOA's records. Buried in decades-old filings, he found a clause requiring all board members to recertify their authority every 5 years with the county. The current board, led by Karen, hadn't done so in 12. Their entire legal standing was void. They weren't enforcing rules, they were committing fraud. But Joseph didn't stop there. He discovered that the HOA's stormwater management system violated city environmental codes. The drainage ditches behind the neighborhood were clogged with debris, redirecting runoff into a protected wetland. Fines for that could reach 6 figures. And guess who signed off on the last inspection? Karen Whitmore. He also found that the HOA had been collecting fees for a security patrol that didn't exist. No contracts, no invoices, no officers, just a line item on the budget. Misappropriation of funds. Joseph compiled it all. Dozens of pages of evidence, time-stamped photos, public records, legal citations. He didn't go to the media. Not yet. He sent one anonymous packet to the county zoning board, another to the state housing authority, and a third to the Environmental Protection Agency. Then he waited. 3 weeks later, inspectors arrived, unannounced. They measured drainage slopes, tested soil runoff, reviewed financial ledgers. Neighbors watched in confusion as officials in bright vests paced the sidewalks, taking notes. Karen was furious. She called an emergency meeting, demanding to know who betrayed the community. She stood at the podium, voice shaking, accusing unnamed troublemakers of trying to destroy their way of life. Joseph sat in the back, silent, watching. The next day, the county issued a cease and desist. The HOA was suspended pending investigation. All fines were frozen, enforcement halted. And Karen? Placed on administrative leave. But Joseph wasn't finished. Because the story didn't end with bureaucracy, it ended with visibility. He uploaded a 12-minute video titled "Why My Grass Got Me Fined $1,300 and What I Did Next." No yelling, no tears, just facts, footage, and calm narration. Within 48 hours, it had 500,000 views. Local news picked it up. Then national. People recognized the pattern. The microaggressions, the targeted scrutiny, the abuse of power masked as standards. And for the first time, Willow Creek Estates wasn't known for its lawns. It was known for what lay beneath them. Roots of racism, watered by silence, finally exposed. The morning the sheriff's deputy arrived at Karen Whitmore's door, Joseph was sipping coffee on his porch. He didn't gloat. He didn't record it. He just watched. The suspension of the HOA had unraveled everything. The investigation revealed not just expired authority and environmental violations, but years of discriminatory enforcement. Out of 178 fines issued in the past 3 years, 67% were levied against minority homeowners, despite them making up only 12% of the community. Joseph's name appeared on 11 notices. The next most fined resident? 2. Karen claimed it was coincidence. "I enforce the rules equally," she told a local reporter, standing on her manicured lawn in a pastel pantsuit. But the data disagreed. The drone footage disagreed. And now, so did the law. The state filed civil charges for misappropriation of HOA funds and fraudulent governance. Karen was personally named. Her husband filed for divorce. The house went on the market 3 weeks later, priced 20% below value. Meanwhile, Joseph's video had sparked a wave. Other HOA members came forward. Latina homeowners fined for ethnic decorations, a Muslim family penalized for installing a privacy fence near their prayer room. A petition circulated to dissolve the HOA entirely. At the final community vote, Joseph stood before the crowd. Not as a victim, not as an avenger, as a neighbor. He didn't demand apologies. He proposed a new covenant, one focused on inclusion, transparency, and shared responsibility. No more arbitrary fines. No more shadow boards, just accountability. The vote passed, 89-12. As people shook his hand, one elderly white man whispered, "I didn't see it. I'm sorry." Joseph nodded. "Now you do." Willow Creek Estates still has green lawns, but now they're dotted with native wildflowers, rain barrels, and signs that read, "This home supports equity." Joseph didn't move. He stayed. Planted more gardens, hosted block parties, became the unofficial mediator when disputes arose. The HOA never returned. In its place, a democratically elected neighborhood council, diverse, transparent, and accountable. Fines are rare and always justified with citations and appeals. Joseph's story spread far beyond suburbia. It became a case study in passive resistance, a masterclass in using the system to dismantle systemic bias. Schools used his video in civics classes. Activists cited his strategy. Don't fight anger with anger. Fight lies with truth. But the real victory wasn't the fines overturned or the headlines earned. It was the little things. The wave from the woman who used to avoid his driveway. The kid who asked to help plant tomatoes in his garden. The silence that no longer felt like isolation, but peace. Racism often wears a polite face. It speaks in rules, in standards, in quiet exclusions. It hides behind clipboards and bylaws. And sometimes the most powerful response isn't confrontation, it's clarity. So ask yourself, how many Karens are still in charge of your neighborhood, your workplace, your school? How many Josephs are being fined, silenced, or worn down just for existing? And what would happen if they stopped begging for fairness and started enforcing it? Because justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet hum of a drone, the rustle of paperwork, the uncut grass that finally grows free.